Hi, buddy, Russ from the West Ham Network. Hope you are all safe and well, my friends. If you're new around here, just give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a subscribe. Happy New Kit Day. It's almost like we planned this, really, because obviously the new kit got released today. We've all seen it. There it is. And obviously they've taken inspiration from that 92-93 shirt. Guess what someone's wearing today? This was not prompted. He's only wearing his bloody 92-93 shirt. There he is.
Dragged it out from somewhere.
Still fits you like a glove.
It smells. It's been in the garage about 30 years.
They call that retro. How are we, Mr. Tim?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks, Russ. How are you?
I'm all right. Hay fever.
Oh dear.
Really bad hay fever. But anyway.
Mm.
Can't complain. We can't complain. Anyway, we're going to have loads of good questions coming in. Loads of questions in the chat, and we're going to come through them all. But obviously, what happens? Obviously, obviously, season's over now. Season's over. Well, not for the international people. Season's over. Do you switch off if you're a footballer during those sort of summer holidays? Those few weeks you got off?
No, I don't think you do. I think it's almost impossible. If you do, you know you're going to be in trouble come pre-season. So you might have a week maybe where you don't do a great deal, but then you have to tick over straight away. You have to do something, even if it's cycling or something. Do you know what I mean? And then build up your running. And I think nowadays as well they have programs so to stick to. And then when they come in, the balls are out straight away rather than running we used to run sometimes for 2 weeks, you know. And obviously which wasn't very enjoyable. But if you want to be fit as you can be when you come back, you've got to keep working the whole time. So there's no sort of time off like that. But obviously you get time away from the games and actually playing and away from the training ground and things like that. So you have to relax and get away from it as much as you can. But physically you can't switch off. I don't think anyway. Yeah,
I mean it must be when particularly. When there's certain members, of their, there might be one or two people who've had a good summer. When they come back, they probably get found out quite quickly, don't they, in pre-season?
Yeah. You can see straight away. You can see if they're struggling. You can't. It's impossible. And even players who'd say, "No, I've not done nothing." They have. Because there's no way that you couldn't keep up. You'd be in real trouble then. If you don't you'll get injured, you'll be miles behind everybody, and then the season starts, you lose your place in the team, and then, any player will tell you, if you don't start pre-season or don't have a good pre-season, it ruins the whole season. It's very hard to catch it up.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then, obviously, when pre-season starts, you said all the running and getting ready. When it comes to those sort of summer, we've released our summer friendlies, or the first batch of our summer friendlies. How much, in terms of as a professional, it's about getting the reps in, getting the minutes under the belt, getting the game time in your legs.
Yeah. I think the training is so much better now. So you do get situations where players don't play an awful lot, and they can still, in terms of say they get an injury. Whereas in our day, you'd have to have a couple of reserve games to get up to some sort of speed. Whereas the science is so good now that they can replicate match play, if you like, a lot better in training. They even so still play match speed, and no matter how many training games and reserve games you have or whatever it might be, there's nothing like a competitive game. And come the first game, the tempo, no matter who you play the week before, it's always that little bit harder or quicker the first game. The one thing I do remember though, going to Scotland a couple of times, and the good thing about that was that they were always a week ahead of us. So we'd go there sort of say 2-3 weeks before our first game, and they'd be their last game before the start of their season, so they were all up for it a lot more. And obviously wanted to kick it a bit and make it a bit more tempo. So I thought that was good, and the pitches up there were good as well because of the weather. They were always a bit softer and rather than some of the concrete ones that you played on.
Sure.
Especially if you played lower down the league, sort of thing. Some of the games you played, the pitches weren't the best. You worry about injuries as much as anything, but yeah, nothing like playing really.
Nothing like playing, indeed. And nowadays, we were talking about, obviously you got the original kit on there. All these kit launches and stuff like that. It always used to be the last game of the season we'd wear the kit for the next season, wasn't it? Now it has to have a big bloody social media campaign and all that malarkey. I mean, you had a few kits, didn't you? Time at West Ham, a few different kits.
Yeah. It's funny seeing this one. You forget what ones you had, and you have favourite ones, and then you see pictures. You think, oh well, I can't remember that one. Like I said, I dragged this one out of the garage, so I don't know what else I've got in there as well. I must have some other kits.
You want a gold mine? You want a gold one? Those match worns go for a lot of money, Tim. I tell you.
Well, that's what my stepson was saying to me. My lads as well. They're Plymouth supporters, and they're obviously, it's a little bit more obscure. But some of the shirts you see people wearing, you think, where's that come from?
Yeah.
And I've got ones from Anglo-Italian Cup somewhere.
Oh, brilliant! They would go for a bomb with with all like that sort of the bougie, like shirt collectors. They love all that stuff and all the retro Italian ones. Honestly, you are on there's your next holiday paid for, Tim.
But yeah, I could do with that. Yeah, could do with all of it.
or it could be going towards the energy, your energy bills for the winter. There we go.
I have to get that wig back on in the winter, I think.
Yeah. Tim wore a wig when he joined the call today, but it's gotten a bit itchy, so he took it off. Speaking of winter, speaking of Christmas, people in the chat, people watching, there's a great night. Tim's going to be there. I know Tim's going to be there because I checked with Len. It's the night, we're talking about the 92-93 season. It's a great night, December the 2nd. It's at the Hilton Hotel, Tower Bridge. It's a great night. I went to one last year with the goalkeepers, all goalkeepers from all ages, but this is going to be it's going to be great fun. I was looking at, Len was telling me some of the people we've got turning up. Obviously, you got yourself, Ludo, we got Morley, if his internet works all right. We've got Kenny Brown, Georgie Paris, Jonah, Dixie, Matty. We had Matty on a couple of weeks ago, Kevin. It's going to be a good night that week, isn't it? Good fun.
Brilliant.
So make sure you check that out. If anyone, there's loads of tickets available, includes a 3-course meal as well. And you know me, I like a good dinner, and it was very good. It was very good last time. So check it out, Maldeville Promotions. If you don't know who it is, just give me an email, guys, and I'll pass you on to them. But check that out. Anyway, I did say to Len I'd say hello to that. Right, we got loads of questions. I want to get through some questions because we had as I said, we had Matty on the other day. And Matty, we started chatting too much, and we didn't have time to answer any questions. Felt really bad. Right, okay, let's get some questions. We got some good ones so far. Right, question: was Tim Billy's first signing, and how did the club convince Tim to join from Luton?
Yeah, I was Billy's first signing. That was always my sort of tagline in the programme, if you like. Billy Bond's first signing. In terms of him convincing me to sign, I had a meeting with him, Tom Finn, and the chief scout. Sorry, his name, I can't remember. But yeah, the three of them, and we had a chat and everything about football. And to put a little bit of context on it as well, I had met Lou Macari, believe it or not, the year before, but that didn't come to anything. I'll cut that short. That didn't come to anything, and then. That new season started, and then the team was doing very well. West Ham were doing well. Luton needed money. Supposedly everyone was for sale, and then I got a call saying West Ham have agreed a fee, so you can go and talk to them. And there was no agents, just myself and the three guys in the room. And obviously Bill didn't really need to sell himself to me. I'd always looked up to him before, when I was a player, and looking at him as a role model of a professional, So that was pretty much done and dusted, really. There was there was other interests, so I sort of had to go back to Luton and speak to them, and then that didn't come to anything. So I I was free to sign for West Ham.
Yeah, and in terms of Bill, did you ever get close to him on the cross country runs?
No, never.
Did anyone? Did anyone get close to him?
I remember I might have told these stories before, but I remember one time I was coming out of the training ground. I hadn't been there that long, and it was pouring with rain, and we finished training and whatever. And I'm driving, and I saw this figure in a West Ham kit, like plodding through the rain up this road, up a hill. I thought, who the hell was that? Some bloke nicked some kit from the club or something, you know. Anyway, it was only Bill, wasn't it? And I clocked it, and it was about 10 miles from the training ground. So, you know, it was like it was a 20-mile run sort of thing, you know, after training. Just amazing.
Absolutely crazy.
He played. My first game at Upton Park was his testimonial, his second testimonial. So that shows everything, and he was fit as everybody.
He was an incredible man, and still fit into his 40s, as you said. Right, what we got here? Let's get some good questions. What we got here? Are there any positions you find are more difficult to scout talent in? Good question. Good question, Happy Emirate.
Yeah. Well, the one that all scouts will tell you is left back.
Yeah.
Or left. I mean, not so much left wing because you get right footers playing on the left nowadays quite a lot. But left-footed left backs, we'll just look at the England team the other day, you know, Trippier playing at left back. And left side centre halves as well. You get away with it a little bit more left side centre half, but left back is always the one, always very difficult to find. And everybody's after the same player. But yeah, they are hard to come by, left backs.
Yeah.
The hardest way, definitely. Goalkeepers I didn't really ever touch on. Leave that to the goalkeepers coach because one of them, that's another art.
Yeah. I mean, we've left back as well. I mean, it's quite interesting because obviously in West Ham, we've got Ben Johnson, who's predominantly a right back. But, you know, I think Moisey sees him as a left back, despite being predominantly right-footed, really. But he's quite good on the left. And, I mean, England as well. You look at England, you talk about England as well. You talk about the amount of right-backs in the first team. In the under-21s, there's just as many. And, you know, for someone like Ben Johnson to have a decent international career, he may have to diversify and go on to maybe the left back. As you said, if Trippier's playing left back for England, then it's a funny position. How there doesn't seem to be so many left backs, but there's literally a dozen right backs in terms of English right backs in the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah. I think as well the fullback position is very, very different now. They play like wing backs even when they're playing back four, so they're very attack minded and not, you know, everybody talks about Trent in terms of his defensive know-how and what have you, and that's another subject. But they're not. When you watch 23s football and academy football, there's very little defending to be done in terms of that side of it. So not a natural thing. Whereas back in my day, it was more like, you know, you defend first and then attack afterwards. Although saying that, I started forward and then.
You were like the modern day. You were modern sort of. Yeah, you were sort of the precursor, it seemed, to that sort of marauding, you know, sort of, you know, fullback, really. But in terms of the, obviously, you know, you do your scouting and stuff like that. We had Patsy Holland on a few weeks ago, and he was talking about the under-23 leagues and stuff like that, and how it's not the same as the old combinations, reserves. Do you see a difference in terms of the development of the kids at that early age? Because it doesn't seem to be particularly West Ham, a lot of kids breaking through like they used to be, if that makes sense.
I think it's very, very hard for those lads to get up to the speed of you know, men's first team football, if you like. And I very much disagree with the situation. The structure of it personally. Because I just think, if you say you've got a young lad who's developing at 18, 19, 20, 21, say, he's becoming a man and he's playing against other young kids, so he doesn't get used to playing against men. The physical side of it, you know, the know-how side of it. When's he going to do that? The only time they're going to do it is going out online. They're not going to do it in the 23s because, you know, the days of the reserve football when the old pro would be playing next to you, talking you through it, don't happen anymore. It just does not happen. You know, they might get involved in training sometimes, but it's not the same. You know, so they even more so now. Everybody knows the loan market is very, very important for clubs. I mean, look at Chelsea, how many players they farm out on loan. But that, I think, you know, say 7, 8, 10 maybe years ago, that wasn't quite as much as an important thing. The loan market, it was like when I was scouting it was really hard to get players out on loan from clubs and academies, and they kept them around. Whereas now it's more of a done thing, if you like. It's almost like they've got to get out on loan first before they'll even be considered for the first team. I think the other part of it as well is when you think, say, like a Premier League club, especially, or even Championship clubs, they've almost got the pick of Europe and the world, even in terms of players who've already played, you know, 100-odd games in their first team in France, say, or Spain or wherever. They've already got up to that level, and they can go and pick them the same as they can pick a lad from their academy or another academy. So I think it's even harder for those lads to come through, and you know, the ones that do, fair play to them, because you know you've obviously got to be good, and you don't get the chances the same. Do you know what I mean? You might be allowed a little bit of time, and you know, to sort of bed in the first team, but nowadays it's a lot harder. A lot harder. Definitely.
Yeah, and I think it just shows the ones that do make it from the academy how much. I mean, you look at the players who have come through, particularly say West Ham or even like England. You know, you look at the likes of Grealish, likes of Foden, Declan Rice. You know, these guys aren't you know, they literally are the top of their game. You don't tend to get the sort of average players making it from the academy. They have to be that upper echelon to progress, as you said, because people will go and buy a player from France who's already got 100 games under their belt, innit, really?
Yeah. And in the Championship as well, there's, you know, a lot of foreign managers, coaches who they know the markets abroad. You know, they've worked and their contacts are there, whereas, you know, for, say, English, British coaches, their market is here. So, you know, where they're going to look, those coaches, they're going to look abroad as well, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Even that's harder at that level as well, you know, to break through.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, no, it is. It just seems to get harder and harder. In terms of your time, let's get some your time questions. There we go. Who's the hardest, Harford or Bonds?
Oof.
Hard hitting.
Oh dear, that's a difficult one, that is. all round, I'd say Bill. Obviously, I didn't play with Bill, so I don't really know, and it was a different era. I played with Mick, but Mick, obviously, people know could look after himself, and it was one of those eras when I played that you had to look after yourself. You know, there wasn't the cameras. There was things off the ball all the time that you saw, and you quickly realised you had to sort of make sure you protected yourself. And I think Mick was in that era. Bill, I don't know if it probably was just as bad in Bill's era. You know, you had the hatchet men in them times, but I think Mick sort of, when he was very young, he was targeted because he was big. So big centre halves absolutely went into him. So he quickly made sure he was going to get the first one in, and it was a battle. So in that position, in terms of that, and like I say, knowing Mick and playing with him, that was what the things that I saw of Mick was like, oh yeah, he didn't mess with him that way.
Yeah.
Fair enough. My manager, but
I know what you mean. Right. Okay. Who was your toughest opponent? Toughest opponent. Who did you hate when the team sheet when you're playing them? Go, oh fucking hell, got him again.
I think Ryan Giggs.
Oh, it's not a bad one.
But he was because he was younger than me. He was unknown. So when they're unknown and they just break through, you're like, oh wow. Whereas when you got to know him a little bit and you saw him on television and what have you, you know, like John Barnes, Chris Waddle, Janola, people like that. The good thing about them, I've always, you know, when I coached as well, I said to young players, and I said earlier about you get wide players who are right-footed. So if you had a wide player then right-footed and came inside and could shoot, you had to show them on the side. But then they were good enough to take it on the outside and cross it. So then you didn't have one way to show them or the other. Whereas when you get young players, sometimes they're only one-footed. You have to show them on their bad foot. That's it. They're done.
Yeah.
Those players I mentioned, they're all very much, both-footed and quick and strong and whatever. So, but luckily back then you could actually tackle. So you had that chance. But now I don't know what you do with those. I don't know what you do. Just hope and pray.
Well, now it seems like the modern day defender doesn't tackle. They just seem to jockey and hang off and block and so you have sort of these old, like, not even old school defenders, but proper defenders like the likes of Craig Dawson and stuff, who seem to put a boot in and then everyone loves them because they're putting a tackle in, like the old days where it's like all the other modern defenders just seem to hang off it and don't commit because they're worried about giving away free kicks or anything like that. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. It's old school me, obviously, but I think that's gone out of the game, and it's a shame really, because, like you say, fans still like to see a proper tackle, and if you're so committed that you make a tackle now and you mistime it, you get a yellow card. Then any foul is almost like a yellow card. So you're then worried. I mean, I got sent off twice, and it was yellow cards both times, but mistimed tackles really, whereas now I think every week you'd be so worried about mistiming a tackle.
Oh, gotcha. It's like it's almost become a non-contact sport sometimes, particularly when we were playing in Europe as well, because obviously I know you played it in Europe as well, the Anglo-Italian Cup, as we said, but when we played in Europe, it's like it's almost like we've had to learn a new way of playing, because we used to playing the Premier League way in terms of tackles, but in Europe it's like anything. It was just ridiculous, particularly in the knockout stages. Learning all the dark arts of Seville and Lyon and Frankfurt. So hopefully it gets us in better stead for next time we get to Europe this next season.
Well, in that as well, when you go abroad like that, it must be, say you get a Spanish referee, and which one of the games I was watching the other day, it might be in the Wales game, where he let a go, you think, oh, great, brilliant. Do you know what I mean? But he did it for both teams, and even the Germany-England game, same thing, Some of our players, back in the day, you'd never think of an England player diving and going down, and he wasn't giving it. I thought, brilliant. But I suppose you have to know the referee or know where he's from and what's he going to be like, and suss him out as the game goes on, and what you can get away with, what you can't do, and that's half the battle, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. During your time at West Ham, what was the best atmosphere and away ground that you experienced? Is there any away ground you enjoyed going to?
Good question. Yeah, I think any away ground when you won, that was the one. I mean, the Everton one comes back to me because I scored there, and it was a great feeling, and that I remembered that goal because I didn't score that many goals. And obviously we won, but going to the big grounds, it was almost like it was. The noise, and Anfield was always the one for me back in them days that had the real noise. Old Trafford as well. And then when you had the local derbies with Spurs and things that again another level. And but yeah, and for me, the difference as well in terms of when so much of the ground was standing, the atmosphere. I mean, I looked at, there was a thing the other day I was watching about Gazza, and he was at Newcastle, and it was like the old ground, and they showed it with all the standing around it, and it looked tiny compared to the ground now.
Yeah,
like the atmosphere. And same at West Ham, when it was like 20,000 there. But it was the majority of them were standing, and it was the low roof and everything. The noise was amazing. So a great time really in terms of atmosphere. But yeah, one that's Everton or Liverpool, to be honest.
I suppose as well, it's like I remember I saw a picture of Main Road, and it had like three like very small stands and one massive stand where they. It's just like build it up, and you're right. It must have been the small roofs and stuff. It must have just like kept the sort of the sound in. These big stands now are just big stadiums of huge roofs, and the sound must just go straight up, and that's why he probably doesn't make such an atmosphere, such a racket as it can do.
True. Yeah, but I remember when I apprentice at Luton, and I was about 16, 17, and we used to go to the home games, and we used to have to go on the pitch at half time, and we had our game in the morning, and then go to the ground, and we was on duty, so we had to go out on the pitch at half time and do the divots and things like that. And even then, some of the atmosphere and that was like sometimes they had 20,000 in there because the first season then they got promoted, and the atmosphere was amazing, really. You know, and it's pretty much the same ground as it is now, although obviously a lot of it's now seating, whereas then it was all standing everywhere. And you'd be surprised how much noise that can generate in those sort of places,
Yeah, definitely. Oh no, totally. No, it's and sometimes you get that sort of those funny games where for some reason the atmosphere is just, it shouldn't be like that, but for some reasons you have these games and it just stick in the memories as fans. That night, and it just might be a night under. I mean, what was it like a night under the lights at the Bowling as a player?
Amazing, yeah, amazing. It's when I first signed, the players said, "Oh, you look forward to that," and I was like, "Oh, right, yeah, and obviously played under lights before, but it went up another level. Definitely, it was almost like because it was the talk that everybody was expecting it, so they were up for it even more. Do you know what I mean? In terms of so yeah, great. I remember the quarter final against Everton as well. That was electric that night.
Yeah,
that was. That was probably my first big experience of it there. I think I'm not sure how many was there, 30 odd. I'm not sure, but
must have been about that.
Yeah, amazing atmosphere, amazing.
Did you have any traditions or superstitions or things you did before the game? Did you put your left boot on in front for the right foot, or did you have anything you'd always do every game?
Not really. I like to be there early and get myself ready, and because I used to do a lot of stretching, I knew I had to. I was built that way that I had to warm up very properly and not miss out, so I'd get problems. But the thing I did have, I had a pair of shin pads from when I was first got into the team at Luton. I kept them, believe it or not.
Love it.
But they were, because they were like ordinary shin pads, and they were cut down, so I cut them down for myself and just kept them. And I kept them the whole time. But I don't know if they were lucky or not. I haven't had a major injury. I've had a few, but so yeah, that was my only one. My lucky shin pads.
Lucky shin pads, love it. Lucky shin pads. Are they in the garage?
There must be, yeah.
Don't get them out. They'll stink. They'd stink. It had to be rotten, right? In terms of how easy or difficult was it to transition, having played football professionally for so many years, to not playing? Because obviously Mark Noble, for example, 18 years at the club, and he's now getting into that situation now where he doesn't have to come back for pre-season and stuff like that. But how hard was it from playing to not playing?
I think it's very difficult, and I think people don't realise, players especially, and people in the wider world, that how different, how sort of unique it is what you're doing, and you sort of go from the next game to the next game, and you're just in it. And like you were saying earlier about off-season time, you actually switch off. No, you don't. So it was the only time, and I was very lucky I didn't have a major injury, that you might then switch off, or have a little bit of time away from it. But even then, you're frustrated because of the injury. But it is very, it's well documented. A lot of players have a lot of problems with it, and I can understand. Personally, I was very lucky. I pretty much went, one day I decided that was me, I wasn't going to play anymore. And the next day I was coaching, more through luck than anything else. And I just went on into the coaching. And then when I finished the coaching, I went into the scouting and never had a breather, really. This is the first breather I've ever had. And, how old am I now? Old. So,
well, not when you had that wig on. I thought he was back in. Well, it was more Machiavelli wig. He looked like Frank Machiavelli back in the early mid-80s, to be honest, rather than you, Tim. But you'll have to bring that to when you go to the Hilton. That's what you have to bring. Everyone will be like, "Fucking hell! Look, Tim's doing well. He looks alright, doesn't he? Jeez." There's Jonesy with his like spiked up hair and his tan. There's Morley,
Yeah.
he's all tanned as well. And look at Tim's hairline. It's great. Looks great.
Yeah. I'll sell some of them shirts and buy a God. No, that's not.
I love it. Right, let's get. What was your favourite nickname for a team player? And that could be at West Ham, Luton, or QPR. Was there a team? Oh, that was a funny one. You used to call him for some reason, a silly name or whatever.
Oh dear. Now you're asking. I'm trying to think. That's a good question. I've never thought of that one before. I know I had quite a few people. I had so many nicknames in the whole time. I think nobody gets as many nicknames as that. I don't know why I had them, but
I mean, what was the one you had at West Ham? Because from the players, because obviously I remember speaking to, we had Mad Dog on once, and he was talking about he's doing his Hammers 11, and he did them all in bloody nicknames.
yeah,
So he was like, "Oh, I'll have there'll be Reg and there'll be Stretch and the Machine, and who's the Machine? Tim Breaker, the Machine."
I think film with Robot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to get Duracell as well. That one was one. Yeah, there was loads, bit rude as well. But yeah, I'm trying to think. That's a good question. I'll think about that. Who can I think of that was something quite different? But I used to get called. Oh, believe it or not, you probably won't get this one, but Phones. But anyway, it was like. Did you ever watch? It was one of them puppet things.
Oh, okay. Well, like Spitting Image or something like that, or was it like more of a
Back in the Yes, Milady and all that, and Parker, and what was that called?
Oh, Thunderbirds?
Yeah, Thunderbirds. I think it was that. I looked like somebody off that. Phones or Bones. They used to call me Phones, and it was Bones.
All right.
So apparently,
Was it? I reckon it was. I reckon I can guess who it is. I reckon I can guess who it is. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to download it. I think I know who it is. Right. Yeah, I can see one of them. I think one of them is definitely. No, yeah, I think it's one of them. Right, okay, so yeah, but I mean, it's funny with when it comes to nicknames. Do you remember? I mean, someone's asked a question about obviously being a fullback, particularly at West Ham. You know, you're running down that chicken run quite a lot. Do you remember anything? Do you remember, what was it like running down that chicken run every home game?
I loved it. I never had any. I never had any problem, any stick. I enjoyed it. They always backed me, and I think I got on well enough with them and clapped them, and I felt like they liked me. So I was lucky. I know they did give it to some players, but I can't remember ever getting it myself. I was lucky, and they were so close, Joe. I remember playing at Upton Park, Luton in the semi-final, and the atmosphere was electric then. But it was almost like as you went to pick up the ball for a throw-in, they were like going to grab you. It was that close. It's the closest ground you could. We know some places you had a fence and things, whereas there nothing.
Yeah.
I always felt like I got backing from them, and even though a relatively small area, they were loud. You know what I mean? And up for the game, and if you weren't doing it, they would tell you. But you expected that. You've got to be able to take that. You've got to be able to take that. But,
I don't see. So this phones thing. You see, someone reckons phones is some Stingray, right?
Stingray.
Okay, but I'd say that's you, innit? The blonde one.
Probably, I don't know.
I don't think you look like Phones. That's not fair. I found Phones. I'm going to download that one as well. God, my phone, my internet searches have been very, very weird today. But no, I don't think you look like him.
Another one I got called was Hans Peter.
Hans Peter.
Hans Peter Briegel. They thought I looked like Hans Peter Briegel. They called me Briegel. Where's Hans Peter? Where's Briegel? Okay.
But that was it. That was the part. That was that time of. It just seemed like it was like fun. Football seemed fun. Everyone seemed to enjoy. Everyone had a personality, and the dressing room may have been tough, but it seemed a real togetherness and stuff. And you just got on with it. Do you know what I mean? It seems now it's too sanitised, football, in my opinion. We talk about the tackles. We can't tackle. You know, you can't. I mean, you, as you said, you were doing the divots at Luton. You know, you're probably cleaning someone's boots as well. They don't do it anymore now, do they, with the kids?
Them things grounded you. They definitely did, you know. And the senior pros, I thought you took as much off them, you know, like in any walk of life. You know, it's as much as, you know, somebody, a teacher telling you, let's say. But if you're a young kid, you're going to look up to a role model who's more relative to your age, aren't you? So as a young kid, if you like saw a pro on Saturday and watched him, he thought he was amazing, and then you were with him in the dressing room, or, you know, getting his kit for him, and he said something to you in the right way, then you would hang on every word, sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And this thing, academies being separate, I've never ever agreed with that. I just think those young kids. I remember vividly things from when I was an apprentice that I picked up off senior pros, and they were like God to me, you know. If they said it, it was gospel. So I think that's lost a bit. And like you say, the sanitized thing, I think, you know, and maybe it's a bit of the world, but I do feel sorry for some of the players because they can't do anything. It'll be construed, you know, anything they say, or, you know, the interviews they give, they have to be in a certain way because they're scared of putting a foot wrong, aren't they? They're going to he's going to be scrutinised, put it that way. So there is. I do feel sorry for him a bit like that, even in terms of, you know, things we used to get up to when we went out for a night out, you know, and great times. But you'd probably be that worried now that, again, somebody would be taking a video or a picture of you, and it would be in papers, or, you know, it'd be that one little bit that somebody's caught somebody, you know, misbehaving, and the rest of the time everybody's having a good time, you know. So I do feel from a bit like that.
You're right. You're right. One mistake, and they've lost thousands, millions of pounds of sponsorship, really, haven't they? I mean, look at. I mean, you know, not a mistake. You know, he's doing community service, but Kurt Zuma, you know, that incident was filmed. It was put onto social media. He shouldn't have done it, and he's lost all these, you know, Adidas and sponsorships and stuff like that. And it's, as you said, it was something. You know, it's obviously he's been convicted for it now, but still, it's say even in the early 90s, that wouldn't have been publicised really, because they wouldn't have been put onto social media when there's no social media, no videos.
I think there's a lot of that as well in terms of, you know, press and the way it's, you know, obviously Kurt Zuma was found guilty, and rightly so, he gets because of that. But there's like this thing of, you know, there's a video of somebody or something's happened or a rumour, put it that way, and, you know, people can say things, but there's not actually a court case and nothing's happened. They've not been convicted. So, and the mud sticks. So I think that's another reason why they're probably so frightened of doing anything or stepping out of line. On, you have to ask somebody first, can I do this? Can I do that? Am I allowed to do this? Can I speak to them? Can I wear this, or whatever it might be? Do you know what I mean?
That's a good point. I mean, you know, speaking of that, and obviously, you know, some of the personalities you played with at your time at West Ham, you know, some big personalities. You know, who was the biggest prankster you worked with? Who was the biggest prankster? Who was the one who'd always wind everyone up with a jipe or whatever on the training ground?
Prankster in terms of practical joking was Alvin.
Really?
Yeah, Alf was. He'd do all sorts of little things and try and catch you out and that sort of thing. Johnny Moncur was more like the funny guy. He just made me laugh so much. Things come to mind, and it just he's just a funny guy. Was Alvin would do things like, you know, like this. Oh, we had this pen that had a like a crackerjack in it, sort of thing. So he'd say, "Oh, can you go and sign that?" So, you know, he'd wait in the street, somebody go and sign something, and pick up the pen, and it'd crack, like they'd jump, and he'd piss himself. And then he'll be waiting for the next one to come in, laughing, and then the next one would come in, and you try and not laugh, and then he'd get caught out. So that was Alvin's more that sort of thing. But practical joker, Alvin.
Yeah, brilliant. No, I love it. And I mean, stuff like that, obviously, because of stuff like, I mean, social. I mean, Christ, Monks. It'd be pictures of him naked every training session, wouldn't they? Basically, to be honest, bless him. Oh, I do love him. I do love him so much.
Yeah.
Right, let's talk about football. If there's one rule you could change in the game, what would it be?
Oh, good question. Oh, VAR.
Really?
Yeah. For me, I'm not a fan. I would still think there's room for technology to help a referee. Definitely. I just think it's gone to the extreme of too much in the time. It ruins the game for me, and the fans in the ground don't know what's going on, and then you've still got two people arguing, or more than having different opinions 2 days later. Whether it's a penalty or not. And obviously there's things that the referee misses on both sides. I just think over the season it evens itself up. So not for me at all. In terms of for the fans, I think if it, like I say, the goal line technology, fantastic.
Yeah.
That's it. Get on with the game. Whereas other you're thinking, really, was that? And I think because it's highlighted so much, you don't move on from it. So, like say even like England's penalty the other day, for me, not a penalty. Yeah, definitely. But it's because of VAR. It's the referee's not allowed to have his opinion and get it wrong. Everyone makes mistakes, so do the players.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I think if there was something like, say, I think if there was a referee and he's got an assistant in a box somewhere at the ground, completely away from everything, nobody can see him, and he's watching it, and he can say to him, "I think you might have missed something there. Wait a minute, yeah, you definitely missed it, penalty." Fair enough, but not to everybody to stop and wait and watch and the whole thing. When you're in the ground, it's I hate it. I'm sure most fans, like players, don't want to celebrate because and then they celebrate that VAR is getting celebrated. I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah, it's true. It's because obviously it came in, obviously during lockdown, really, or during the lockdown games, and obviously we were still there playing all the music and stuff, and so I've never played music after a goal. I'm not an American. We don't do that, but we did it for the lockdown games because obviously a player's scored in a Premier League and there's no fans to celebrate, so we played the music. So the first game we did it, brilliant, and then we played it and then the goal got disallowed, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. So literally I haven't played it for like 20 years, played it, like a little bit pissed off on playing it, and then it's like, that's the trouble, you've got this delay now, haven't you? You've got the goal, and you've almost got to wait till the centre has been taken, centre spot has been taken, then you can celebrate the goal. It doesn't make it, the fans can't enjoy it, because everything, you've got to wait, you just got to wait for the goal. It's crazy.
Well, the biggest thing as a kid when you go to a football match is the elation of a team scoring a goal, isn't it? That's the whole about that. So you're even taking that away. That how many times you sort of celebrate and think, oh, maybe not. Oh, let's have a look at the linesman. Oh, are we all right? Yeah, okay, we're all right. The moment's lost, really, for me.
Yeah, it does. It loses that sort of euphoria because it's almost like a planned euphoria. You can't celebrate. Now you can. It's like, well, no, I can celebrate when the ball's going in the back of the net, but no, it doesn't work it that way, unfortunately, at the moment.
That it does help, definitely. I mean, the thing for me as well, sometimes with, say, like something, when there's a bad tackle and it's a red card, right? They should be able to look at that on a Monday morning and say, hold on a minute, that should have been a red card. We missed it. We're going to ban him. They would have lost a player for the game, but now they're going to lose him afterwards. So they've got that opportunity to do that and use the video like that. But, even with those, when they miss things and you see bad tackles and they miss it, and even then VAR misses it as well. So what's the point, really?
What's the point? And you're almost debating the VAR call. That's the thing. Like you go back to the games and like half-time analysis and full-time, and they're talking about the VAR. The whole point of this is to not talk about decisions anymore, but we still are.
Yeah, I think for me it's like an Americanized thing. I was in America when the '90 World Cup was on, and I hated it because they were analysing every single thing, and this was while the game was going on. I just want to watch the game, and it was like that. And even I've been over there to watch like soccer, as they call it, match, and same thing. Nobody's off watching the game. They're just a different sort of thing.
It is. It's like the baseball, isn't it? So baseball, they do the national anthem, they throw the first pitch, then they fuck off, and it's like then they go for a beer and a hot dog, and I was sat there because it was like really packed. I was like, I think I spent some time in the States, so it was where was it? I can't remember. It was the Mets. We saw the Mets play, and literally everyone just buggered off, and I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." And there's some tent, some beer tent. It makes no sense. You paid to watch the game. It's like, yeah, oh, don't get
You
it.
get up when the balls are just about to be crossed or something, or somebody's just about to have you wouldn't go now. You go, when the ball's out of play or something.
Break a play, yeah.
Yeah.
Break a play.
Anyway.
Right, let's move over for VAR. Did you read? Obviously, fanzines were very popular during your time. Did you ever read any yourself?
No.
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 Good question. There we go. Simple. That's what I like. That's what I like. Questions like that. There we go. Right.
What for me? I never really read reports either of games. Very rarely.
Yep.
Because and this thing that used to get marks in the paper, and you realise if you're relying on, and you meet the guys who were giving you the marks, and you think this bloke hasn't got a clue about football, and he's deciding what mark I get in the newspaper, and I've got a good mark. Oh, great, I've done well. No, you haven't. But equally, when you do badly, it's not. You know yourself when you played well or not played well, and or your manager might tell you, or your coaches or your teammates. You don't need them sort of things. So I think, if you want the nice comments, you've got to be then ready for the bad comments. I think same now it's social media, isn't it? So I'm not so sure. I'm not into social media at all, but I'm not so sure I would be as a player, because it must be very, very hard. It's such a shame, because it's a great way for players to relate to fans and talk to them.
Definitely, yeah.
Get the ones where you're just getting hounded and slaughtering you just for the sake of it. I don't know how it works. Maybe the top guys have somebody who filters everything anyway for them. I bet they do, yeah. So, I didn't personally fanzines. I didn't really. There was one time. It was Gary, wasn't it? He did the fanzine. And,
Over yeah.
And I did ask him once, and to be fair, he did me a favour, because at the time it was in the paper that I was going to sign for Palace for some reason.
Yeah.
And I knew absolutely nothing about it. I didn't have an agent, and I was getting a few comments like, "What are you doing going to Palace and all this?" I'm not Palace. Yeah, you are. I was read it in the paper. I said, "News to me." Do you know what I mean? I think you're lying. And even to the fact that Bill pulled me in and said, obviously you've seen this, there's nothing in it. I went, no, I'm not interested, Bill, So I didn't ask it, and then I saw Gary and I said, oh, do us a favour, will you put something in and say that, I'm not interested in it, because it wasn't the sort of thing you could put in a programme or,
I know me.
Which helped.
No, that's good. Yeah, I think Gary's still in Ukraine at the moment. He keeps going back and forth Ukraine with things full of like toys and stuff for all the kids.
That's good.
Yeah. Good old Gary. Right, okay, let's get some most enjoyable game playing for us. Probably one of the ones you scored in, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's funny how you memories and things. When we got promoted, it wasn't like it was more pressure, and we knew it was the pressure of it sort of thing, and then getting over the line sort of thing. Games when you needed a win to like make sure that you wasn't going to get dragged into relegation, that sort of thing as well. But the one that does stand out for me is that quarter final at Upton Park, and the atmosphere, and beating Everton in that season. And we were on a real sort of like roll. We had I'd signed for the club in October, and the team was everything was buzzing. It was a really nice place to be, and everybody got on great. And the team, whoever came in for somebody else, did well. And we, the atmosphere and everybody, the fans, the whole thing, it was a great time. And then to get that, to then have a semi-final to look forward to, and it was a massive game at home against a team in the division above. It was. I remember that being a big game at the time.
No, it was, yeah. And I think it's one of those things where I think people, it's like you forget that games like that as well sometimes. There's been so many games, and it just said someone like you, almost 300 games for the club. You know, as I said, it must be so many games you forget, and I guarantee there'll be someone who will talk to you about a game and you'll forget, and they'll talk to you about it, and straight away you know exactly where you just remember it. I mean, for me, I mean, one of your goals, I think, if I'm right, was actually my first ever game I saw. I'm just checking because I'm pretty sure it was. I'm just checking. Was it? I'm just looking now. Let me think. Where is it? Because I was just looking at it the other day and I thought, oh my god, you scored in one of the first games I saw. Yes, it was Oxford United. You did score. You scored, and
Yeah,
Julian scored too as well. The 5-3, and yeah, that was a great game. That was a great game.
well, wasn't it?
That was when Oxford scored within 30 seconds of the kickoff.
Mm.
And I
Yeah,
remember that because obviously, as a young whippersnapper, not a young whippersnapper, but first game, got my hat, you got the scarf, had gone to get your pie and all that type of thing. And then 30 seconds in, that was it. Just all that straight down. But then, yeah, you scored and a couple for Julian as well. Right, let's get some more questions and then we'll let you go, man. We'll get some silly ones as well in a minute as well. We like silly questions. Do you remember Highbury with the whole Paolo Futre and John Moncur for debacle with his shirt and number 10 and that one?
yeah, yeah, I do, yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a funny old situation, really, and I think was that the same game that Lauren Radley-Choyo didn't turn up as well.
No, I think that was in the cup. I think that was in the cup. Yeah, with Florin. I mean, that was a weird time, wasn't it? Because you had like this. You had like the sort of the not no yeah, the old guard, sort of the old British players, and then Harry was bringing in all these, as you said, Florian Radicchoi, Futre, all these E. Dimitrescu, some really sort of random people, really. It must have been interesting in the dressing room, just because those different dynamics.
I think, yeah, definitely, and I could see what Harry was trying to do, but I don't know, for me, I didn't enjoy that side of it. I felt a little bit sorry for the lads because it was almost like they were not Radicchio so much, but Paulo Futre was towards the end of his career,
Yeah.
And it was a different thing playing in England for even at the top of his career, and I just thought it was the wrong time for him, really, and he'd been such a legend, so to get himself, I do remember the first day he turned up at training and we were just laughing. We thought, what is going on? It was the first day, and we always used to go down to Hainault Forest, and you could drive down there and meet at the car park and whatever, go for a little jog, and all be asking the physio, what are we doing, where are we going? Yeah, we're just round the lake, a few stretches, all right, no problem. So all there, first day back, everyone's like, where'd you go on holiday, and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, this great big black limo comes into the car, and everyone's like, what the hell's going on here, and Paulo Futre. So he's like, come up, and lads, and like a little bit shake hands, done a few stretches, and we're only going for a jog, literally a jog, and then a few, few strides. First day, that's enough for me. Back in the limo, off he went. We were like, what is going on?
Jonesy says it exactly the same. That story, exactly the same.
Like, surely you can jog, surely you can jog with the lads. And it was just such an easy day. Anyone could do it, it was nothing. And I think from that, it was, then other ones come in. Radicchio was one, and didn't really want to be there. Didn't want to be there. He didn't want to be there. And I remember him, you might have this story as well. We went to Torquay and pre-season, he was like, what am I doing down here, sort of thing. And John Gittins, I'm sure it was, centre half at Torquay, saw him coming and smashed into him, and wow.
That was it.
He went missing. He thought, I'm not having that. And he was there's, when we go back to the nickname, it might sound very harsh, but it was the Radish. We used to call him the Radish. As soon as anybody kicked him or touched him out training, he'd just go missing. But again, probably the wrong time for that sort of player. Fantastic technical player, but the English game was so different then, physically, and got intimidated by John Gittins, the word would go around. Just get into him, and
That's it.
he
It's going to
wants.
collapse. Yeah. But I think it's weird because it all goes full circle. So you had like it's sort of the British era, so to speak. So like and then Harry brings in sort of a raft of foreign players, and then it sort of transforms sort of towards the end of your West Ham time. We had the likes of Hartson, Berkovic, Lazaridis, good players coming in,
Yeah,
and then sort of the like guys like yourselves, Razor. It's a real weird like
yeah,
soap opera. It was like a soap opera. It seemed that sort of that period. I loved it. My favourite period at West Ham. That was
yeah.
loved it.
There's different players. Another one that comes to mind. What was Danny? Wasn't it? Do you remember him? Danny.
Danny, beautiful man.
Yeah, he looked like Elvis, didn't he? Like a model. And a great player, but other than that, that was it, wasn't it? Nothing
Yeah.
else.
Well,
Didn't get any.
it was him and Dowie, weren't it? And they called it Beauty and the Beast. That was their nickname. On the son called him Beauty and the Beast, and they bless him. But yeah, no, it was yeah. Danny's a funny one. He then went because I did a bit like Where Are They Now type thing, like a while ago with Danny or Darnie, and he then ended up at, I think it was like I think it was Portuguese's version of Strictly Come Dancing.
Was it?
Yeah, or something like that. So.
I said, oh, who was the other one? Hugo
Hugh,
Porfirio.
yeah, didn't
He,
have did
I
Snow.
thought he was the era that they were more. Obviously, Danny was younger, but Hugo was a little bit more of that era where he was trying to show people what he could do. I suppose Slaven Village comes into that, and Mark Reaper, people like that. They were signings that were more in the middle of their career rather than the end,
Yeah,
or young ones at the start. So more prepared for it or more resilient to it. Put it that way.
they're definitely more resilient. That's for fair. Right, a few more, then we'll go, man.
No,
How did you feel playing your last game for West Ham? Did you know it was your last game before you played it?
yeah, I did. I did. Well, I thought it was. And I was really surprised to be playing. It was a very strange situation, and I sort of couldn't say anything to anybody. But yeah, it was against Arsenal,
Yeah,
and I just remember thinking, oh, how am I ending up playing in this game when I'm supposed to be going? And that was it was a strange situation, and tear in the eyes sort of thing. But thought, oh, how am I playing? But yeah, I do remember that last game. Yeah.
yeah. Must have been strange, man. Must have been strange.
When you said earlier about Mark Noble, and I did see the game, and I thought that was amazing that he got a send off like that because and rightly so, he deserved it more than anybody. But players don't always get a chance to even say goodbye. Sometimes even to the lads that you played with, And,
Yeah,
so it was a fantastic tribute to him, and rightly so. Yeah, he deserved
yeah.
it.
No, it was. Mark asked, what was the last gig you went to?
Last gig.
Yeah,
Well, festivals, do they count?
yeah. Of course I do.
Well, that's where the wig come from.
Ah,
Glaston budget.
Glaston budget.
Brilliant. Like tribute bands. Like a
Brilliant.
festival tribute bands. Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Police, Take That, bit of rock,
Love
Guns N' Roses, bit for everybody.
Oh,
Oasis, they're called.
away shish and fake
Oasis.
that.
Yeah, it's brilliant though. It's great fun. I recommend it.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's the type of thing my wife would love. I'm going to have to take you to that.
Yeah.
She'd love that. Yeah. And right, let's, what we got here? We'll do two more. One is, was there a group called the Romford Mafia or the Hollywoods Mafia that used to go out in Romford clubbing? Dixie, Hutch, and others. It sounds like it should be. To be honest, yeah.
They might have called that by other people. I wouldn't have thought they called that themselves because they want to be inconspicuous, really. I'd have thought, but yeah, there's every chance. Yeah,
The
the nightclub there. I can't think what it's called now.
Faces.
No, that was Gants Hill, wasn't it?
That was Gants Hill. Where are you going? Romford, Hollywoods.
I thought it's still there now, but we had a party there once, and it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. We'll just leave it like that. That's uncommittal in case Mrs. Breaker's in shot in hearing distance. Yeah, it was fun. We did all right. We was at bed by 10 o'clock. No problem at all. And the last one we always finish in pie, mash and liquor, yes or no?
Do you know what? Never had it.
Really? I haven't had it. I never had it until one of Len's events. Oh, it was like at Dagenham Redbridge. It was great. They do pie and mash nights. First time I had it. It was all right. And that was about a year ago.
Was it?
Yeah.
I can't believe it. You waited that long?
Oh, well, you haven't had it either, so there you go.
Well, it wasn't on the pre-match meal, was it?
It wasn't on the pre-match meal.
No, I've not had it, I've got to say. To try that.
I don't think you miss it much.
The jellied eels, that one. No. I might like it because I like cockles and stuff like that, mussels. I don't mind all that, oysters, and so maybe eels.
I think it's a step. I think it's a step up. I think jellied eels is a step up. In all honesty.
Yeah. Got to talk myself out of that one.
Yeah, good man. Tim, man, look, thank you so much for your time. I said an hour and 1 minute, not too bad. Mate, really, really appreciate it as always, man. Thank you so much, buddy.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Thanks.
Cheers, man.
Yeah, some good ones there.
Some good ones and some lovely comments about, we won't go for the comments. I don't want your head to grow anymore. But there's some lovely comments about... Well, I mean, you're on the same as me. We're in the same boat. There's some lovely comments there. But and as I said, if they all turn up in December, Tim, they can come and meet you and say hello. So there you go.
Absolutely. Look forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be a good night. It's a nice place, good venue. Just get ready for Christmas, and what's Christmas? What can Christmas mean more than having sharing a cockle with Tim Breacker and Steve Jones? There we go.
World Cup on as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, actually, yeah. World Cup. It's during the World Cup. When does it kick off? I think the World Cup kicks off. I know the Premier League shuts down in mid-November. It opens again Boxing Day, I think. But yeah, it'll be around the world. There's probably a World Cup game on. That was well done, Len. Let's have a quick look. Second, what's the second? There'll definitely be a World Cup game. Right, the second. Not England. You're right. It's not England. It's South Korea versus Portugal. It's Ghana versus Uruguay, Serbia versus Switzerland, and Cameroon versus Brazil. So it's the last group stages of Group G. So you're not missing much.
No, I can't say I'll be worried about it.
No. Because Brazil will be already won the group by then. So there you go. Right. All right, mate. I'll let you go. I'll kick you out. So don't worry about leaving, man. And I'll speak to you soon. Cheers, Tim.
Cheers.
Thanks, man.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good old Tim. What a lovely man. And sorry, there's so many questions, but I didn't want to take him too long. I said an hour and he was an hour. Secrets. That might be secrets. That sounds like a strip club, innit? I don't know if it is, but anyway, it could be. Right. Pulse. Could have been Pulse. I don't know. He's almost like his new kit. I need one. I loved it. I loved the new kit, and I loved it. I loved that kit with Tim. Cheers, Mark. Thank you very much. Yep, top man as always. As always, good old Tim. What a legend. Again, apologies for any sort of sound problems, but it is what it was. But we got to hear from Tim for over an hour. What a lovely gentleman, great player and a lovely man. And he turned up and he had this sort of like afro, like it was like Frank McAvenny in the 1980s, the wig. It was brilliant. Fair play to him. But as I said, if you're new around here, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a bloody good subscribe. That's the phones from Stingray. Could be. Thank you, Ian. As I said, we'll be back here tomorrow for the lunchtime show. We may well do the next instalment of Keep, Sell, Loan with the midfielders and attackers, the first team. So we did it last week for the defenders and goalkeepers, and that was quite good. So we might do it on the lunchtime show. So keep an eye out for that. We'll definitely have a lunchtime show, but we might do that just to mix it up a little bit, really, innit? Well, the transfer window opens tomorrow. Exciting times. Alright. But yeah, as I said, if you're new around here, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a bloody good subscribe. And we'll be back tomorrow, and we have the Hammers headlines as well tomorrow as well. We'll also do the next round. We should do the draws for the monthly draws for the members. And soon we'll be going to weekly draws as well. So we have a monthly sort of memorabilia draw. Then thanks to our good friends at Untuck It, we're going to be weekly draws. So you win a, win a shirt. Win a nice not West Ham shirt, but like a button-up shirt. Nice. But you can only enter it if you're a member. There we go. Russ, you'll be busy tomorrow confirming all our plays. Who knows? Hasn't changed a bit. It still looks good, doesn't he, Tim? Still looks good. Anyway, guys, as I said, if you're new around here, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a subscribe, become a channel member if you want to. If not, I'll see you tomorrow anyway, regardless. And, yeah, take care, my friends. Ta-ta for now. Ta-ta.
It's like a family tree.